Freed-Hardeman University's music department will present a guest recital featuring pianist Roberta on Tuesday, November 18th at 7 p.m. in honor of Native American Heritage Month. The event will take place on campus in the Drawn Center for Musical Arts. We were also able to speak with Rust briefly about the upcoming recital.
What kinds of things do we need to be listening for to know that this is Native American melody, harmony, counterpoint, rhythm?
Yeah, exactly. Well, in the four American Indian preludes, which I'll play on Tuesday night, I will talk about each of the pieces a little bit in that set and show the audience some of the things to listen for. One of the things is called powwow melody song shape. And a powwow melody usually starts at a high pitch and it descends to a low one. And sometimes it has what we call like terrace descending. So it'll start high, then it'll drop a little bit, then it'll be a terrace, a pitch it'll float on for a while. Then it'll drop again, there'll be another pitch it'll float on then until it gets to the bottom. And then sometimes when it gets to the very bottom, you will hear it rest on a repeated note. And that is supposed to imitate drums or rattles, which are so important in the powwows. So that's one thing to listen for. Also, in some of the pieces, you will hear kind of an ornamentation that sounds like a flute, because the flute was a very important instrument, particularly for the Native American Plains tribes. So that was a key instrument. So you'll hear sometimes like flute melodies that are ornamented in a certain way that is really, very characteristic. And now Lewis's music embraces more of the techniques of the 20th century. So you will hear, there's one of the preludes that has kind of a partial 12-tone row, because one of his grand teachers was Arnold Schoenberg, because his teacher, Bella Rocha, who he studied with in Oklahoma, was a student of Schoenberg. So he was introduced to all of the techniques of 20th century composition. And so some of those are incorporated in his music, as well as with these native elements. Now, with Connor's music, of course, it's of the 21st. It somewhat eschews some of the ideas that came forth in the 20th century that you'll hear in Lewis's music. So his music, I think, is in some ways more accessible for audiences. Harmonically, it's not nearly as dissonant. It doesn't have some of the bracing qualities that some of Lewis's music has. But it's very, very beautiful, and he sets like the Navajo chants and lovely harmonizations, and there's something in it that just evokes kind of a natural setting that folks often associate with Native American life.